let me let you guys into a little story. You see, 2 weeks after I introduced Paul the Peugeot to you guys, I did a run for my job and I was making a delivery to a little unit in the corner of Telford. Now, in the corner of the unit, there stood a massive blanket. I then noticed a shape under the blanket. I asked the chap who ran the unit, "Is that an old Jack?" He said, "Yes, it is. It's an XJ40. It's yours for 600 quid if you're interested." I think you guys could probably guess the rest now. Now, I'm no idiot. I know that these cars in decent condition are easily worth more than double 600 quid any day. And this particular car, she's a bit of a beauty, it must be said. After a good polish, she's actually cleaned up really, really well. I know that I can sell this car for at least double what I paid for, possibly even triple. She's a very, very solid car underneath. And you may even notice this curious little block on the tow bar here. One of the reasons why I bought this car is because she runs on LPG. So, we've got a 4-litre straight six, a cavernous leather interior, which is an absolutely stunning place to sit, runs on gas, and is a 1994 Jaguar XJ40, which is the last year of production, making this one of only about 10,000 cars made in that year. So very, very special. And of course, it's a Sovereign. It's a top spec Jaguar. It also came with a free hat, and that's just got to be worth it. Now, I am pretty much under the conclusion that the Jaguar XJ is the nicest car in the world, and I think this car pretty much sums it up. It's very difficult to get out of this thing because you're leaving such a wonderful world behind. But what's it like on the road? Well, the Jaguar XJ promises to be the benchmark executive saloon. So why don't we put that to the test with a drive on Shropshire lanes? After I finished paying off this car, unfortunately lockdown happened, which meant that there was a bit of a delay in actually being able to get this car, and furthermore being able to actually do any form of work to it. Thankfully though, the seller was absolutely top notch. The seller was very, very kind. His name was Bob, and he was kind enough to sort out the alternator fault for me, which turned out to be a new alternator, which was only 90 quid on my end, so that was all right. And he also threw in a full service of all of the gas systems on the car. So yeah, all in all, very, very happy car. To drive, this car is brilliant. It's very smooth, and it's actually quite quiet. Despite the big lusty engine up front, it's actually a very relaxed, nice place to be. It's lovely. I mean, I could just hear the odd little rumble when I accelerate, so like this. You can't even hear it. You'll probably hear it more when we go around the roundabout. So the engine in this is a 4-litre straight six. It's the AJ6 engine that was developed specifically for the XJ40 and trialled on the 1983 Jaguar XJS 3.6 Cabriolet, or convertible, whatever. Cabriolet is something that's front-wheel drive, isn't it? Yeah. Glorious little rumble there. So when it came to actually MOTing this car, I had to have it MOT'd. I couldn't avoid it, even though it was during lockdown, because this car was last on the road in 2016. It needed an MOT. Thankfully I found a station that was willing to do it for me, and after 4 years of sitting, this car got an advisory of 1 bulb. That was it. So as you can tell, I'm pretty impressed with this old bus. She definitely seems better built than loads of people give Jaguars credit for. After the MOT, I actually had the chance to take this car out for a drive. Now, obviously, during lockdown, it had to be to the shops and then back home again. But that said, I did have to buy a battery for this car, which was 40 quid thanks to staff discount at Euro Car Parts. Yay. This car is absolutely sensational to drive, and I found that when I push this little rocker switch down here for the sport mode, there we go. Oh, that is giggle worthy. I love that. I tend to use the sports mode quite a lot because I've got LPG, so I'm only paying half the price of petrol, so why not use the sport mode more of the time? It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic driving this car around. You just, oh, so much fun. But when you're just cruising along, it doesn't really encourage you to drive fast. It just, you feel very content just sort of bimbling along. It's nice. And although the camera is shaking something rotten, which I do apologise for, it's the suction cup mount I've got, the ride is actually very, very good. Only at low speeds does it start to jiggle about, but once you get a bit of a shift on, the ride is excellent, and the handling is also very good. It's almost like it's front wheel drive. So yeah, this is my first rear wheel drive car, and the first rear wheel drive car I actually had proper experience with now. So it's, yeah, it came to me as a bit of a shock just how good this car actually drives. That said, this is a Jaguar, this is a benchmark car, and that was what the XJ is all about. It's about setting the benchmark. And that's what Jaguar always did with this car. The original XJ6 did that, and just constantly throughout the lineage, the XJ has just continued to set the trend. And even now, even the newer cars, you look at them and you still go, that's definitely an XJ. There's something about these cars, the way they look, the styling of them, the way they go, and even the interior appointment. There's something that connects all of the cars together. There's just a certain something that's unique to the XJ. There's a certain character, and I think that's what makes this car really work for me. It's an absolutely glorious thing to drive. The gearbox itself is a ZF 4-speed automatic. People turn their noses up when first they go, ooh, when I told them it's a 4-litre straight 6, and then they go, ooh, when I say it's an automatic, but actually I really like it. It's a good auto box. It doesn't mean I'm off manuals. It just means that my Jag has an automatic gearbox. That's it, really. But as you can tell, I'm very happy with my 600 quid for this car. But then I decided to do a little bit of digging. The first night I actually had the car, I was perusing through all of the service books and the user manuals and everything. And I found out that this car was originally registered in Shrewsbury, which is 14 miles away from where I live. So this car was built at Browns Lane in Coventry, found its way up to Shrewsbury, and the first buyer, the first owner, also lived in Shrewsbury. What are the coincidences? So this car basically lived in my neck of the woods her entire life, which I think is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. This car, which is so good at globetrotting, it's just spent its entire life in just one place. But that said, the previous owner has told me that he's taken this car to Ireland and all over the place, and it's been completely faultless with him, and I'm hoping to get the same result here. Yeah, the things that draw me to this car immediately were the colour, the fact it's got LPG, the spec, and also it's a 94 car. It's the last year of XJ40 production, which means that it's got a few little bits underneath well, a few improvements that were made to the XJ40s, which were then carried on to the X300, which was effectively a reskin of the XJ40. So, yeah, everything about this car just seemed right to me, and the price as well. I knew for 600 quid, if this car turned out to be a dog, I could sell it immediately and make a profit on it. But I don't want to sell it immediately. I've actually really grown to like this old bus. My second day of ownership, still in lockdown, I decided to give the car a really thorough polish, and she's come up really well, though I will admit there are a couple of panels on the car which are letting the side down somewhat, namely the roof, the bonnet and the boot lid. This car had been in store for a very, very long time, and as a result things got put on her, and those things had gouged the paint. So she is going to need a bit of paint work at some point. I don't mind doing it though, because as far as I'm concerned, this car is so worth it at the end of it. I've now developed a trim squeak somewhere. Oh, it's a seatbelt. I'll put some WD-40 on that. It's typical that. I've been driving this car for a while, not once has it squeaked, and then as soon as I get in to make a video, then I get a trim squeak. But all in all, it's actually a very solid car. Even the sun visors are really thick and meaty, even if the retaining clip on this one has broken. It still holds itself up very, very well. It's almost like that clip was designed with redundancy in mind. But yeah, absolutely fabulous car to drive. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking. You're probably thinking, Gray, you look like a young man. And indeed, you would be right. I am 25 years old. So then your next question will be, are you paying young man insurance to drive this big 4-litre beastie around? The answer is no, not really. This car, I kid you not, is the cheapest car I've had to insure. I've currently got a policy with Lancaster. This is not a promotion or anything, I'm just telling you who I'm insured with. They've got me on a policy, a monthly payment policy, which for the year costs about £400. To put that into context, Paul the Peugeot was £1,500 a year to insure. Annie the Alpine, well, at the first insurance company I went with, they were charging me over £2,000 a year to insure. 2,000. So I think it's absolutely potty. So it's cheap to insure, it's cheap to fuel, but it was cheap for me to buy. And so far, it's been cheap for me to maintain too. So, I don't know why people were so scared when I said I was getting a Jag. They do have this sort of conception about them where they are really expensive vehicles, but so far, fingers crossed again, touch wood, which I've got here and here and here. Touch wood, hopefully this car is not going to present any problems for me. I have got one little issue, which is that the gearbox warning light comes on, and when that happens the acceleration does get a wee bit sluggish and the sport mode doesn't kick in at all. So it's a shame, but that said, it doesn't really overly affect the way the car drives, so I think it's something simple like a gearbox service. I reckon it just needs new filter and fluids. I think that's it. And thankfully, because of my job, neither of those things are going to be too expensive to find. Other little foibles it's got, well, the wood on this ashtray lid is starting to peel off, which is a shame because the rest of the interior is lovely. Even the headlining has got a tiny bit of saggage here, but you don't even notice it. That's the thing. Because this car doesn't have a sunroof, there's just the headlining and things have survived really, really well. I like that. I like that a lot. It makes me very happy. Very, very, very happy indeed. Other foibles, the automatic dipping rearview mirror, which when I found out that it had this, I was like, ooh, that's cool. And then Bob said it doesn't work because they break after 5 years. I was like, But thankfully a new one isn't too expensive. I think it's just a shade over, well, I think it's about 80 quid for a new one. If you can find one, that is. I've been looking on eBay and it seems that most of them belong to X300s. Then there's the air conditioning. Because this car had been stood for a while, the aircon pump is seized, which is a shame. But again, a salvage one can be had for less than £100. There seems to be a running theme with this car. Everything for it costs less than £100. Apart from the rear bumper chrome. The rear bumper chrome is the most expensive thing I've checked on the price on for this car. The rear bumper chrome itself is £400. Ouch. But that said, that's because with XJ40s, they had an unfortunate habit of their bumpers disappearing in the night. I'll just pull up in here. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my little introduction to Judith the Jag. By far and away, the nicest car I've ever bought, and certainly one of the cheapest. And as I enjoy the views of the Shropshire countryside, I shall now say farewell. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more of Judith, let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like, a favourite, a subscribe even, and I shall see you in a future video. Oh, and by the way, I still have Annie. I'm not getting rid of her anytime soon. She's still at the engine builders, okay? So don't worry a thing. I will have her back soon, I promise. Anyway, toodly pipski, guys.